Even if you don't follow motorbike racing, you probably know the name Valentino Rossi. A legend in the ranks of Italian sports and racing in general, Rossi has amassed a fantastic career spanning 3 decades that has included 7 MotoGP World Championships, 99 race victories, and 199 podium finishes. But how differently would Rossi's career resume have looked had he upgraded to 4 wheels back in the mid-2000s when he entertained a move to Formula 1? We've seen plenty of ride swaps in the past with MotoGP and F1 drivers, but Rossi's F1 outings in the early 2000s were far more serious than just a joyride. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the story of how Valentino Rossi almost made the switch to Formula 1 in order to drive for the sport's most storied team. But before we do that, if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Rossi's F1 ambitions started all the way back in 2004 when he got his first taste of a Ferrari F1 car at Fiorano. The Italian even wore one of Michael Schumacher's spare helmets as Schumi was present at the test. Quote, "Of course, it took him a while to get used to it, but he was very impressive by the end of the day," Schumacher said. At that time, Rossi was just soaking in the experience of driving an F1 car for the infamous Scuderia, but that 04 test cemented a keen interest in the pinnacle of motorsport. In the mid-season of 2005, Rossi had another similar test at Fiorano, but this time with Marc Genet on hand to help coach the Italian. Following his shakedown run, Rossi stated, quote, "I wanted to get a better understanding of a Formula 1 car. It was intensive and interesting." Rossi's F1 getaways between 2004 and 2005 were in the midst of his move from Honda to Yamaha and also clinching his 4th and 5th MotoGP world titles. The landscape in Formula 1 was also rapidly changing by the time we reached the end of the 2005 season. Fernando Alonso and Renault put an end to Ferrari's 5-year domination, and the great Michael Schumacher was nearing the end of his Ferrari tenure. This opened the door for many drivers, one of which just happened to be a world champion on 2 wheels. In January of 2006, Valentino Rossi had just entered the final year of his contract with Yamaha and was looking at his career options for the future. This is where we get to the business end of just how close Rossi was to becoming a Formula 1 driver. In that year's F1 preseason test, Rossi made his first public F1 outing at Valencia when he drove a V10 engine Ferrari that was tuned down. On the first day, Rossi was not yet accustomed to wet weather driving on 4 wheels as he spun off in the damp conditions. However, the doctor used all his talent and experience to continually improve, and on the final day of the test, Rossi was only 7/10ths behind Schumacher's best time of a 1:11.640. Now, it is important to note that Schumacher was driving the new Ferrari F248 F1 with a V8 engine, and his teammate Felipe Massa was also in the F2004 with a V8 engine, and we also have to keep in mind the different run plans at hand that day. Regardless, Rossi was still able to finish 9th fastest out of 15 drivers as he lapped faster than the likes of Mark Webber and David Coulthard. Luigi Mazzola, former Ferrari engineer, said Schumacher was blown away at how fast Vale was in an F1 car. Quote, "I remember Michael Schumacher, who studied telemetry, looked very surprised, almost unable to believe what he saw." Rossi and Ferrari went their separate ways after the Valencia test to embark on their task of becoming world champions once again. Unfortunately for both parties, they would fall short of their goals by the end of the 06 season. Rossi entered the final race of 2006 needing a second place or higher to win the championship, and even though he started on pole, he ultimately slid out of contention and lost the title to Nicky Hayden. And this is where the possibility for one of the greatest crossovers in motorsport history was most viable. What we didn't know at the time was that drama was unfolding internally at Ferrari, and Michael's days in the Scuderia were numbered. Ferrari chairman Luca de Montezemolo was keen on signing Kimi Räikkönen for 2007, and that is exactly what happened as Ferrari paired Felipe Massa with Räikkönen after Schumacher's surprise retirement announcement came at the Italian Grand Prix that year. There are plenty of rumors circulating that 06 season of an internal Ferrari war between Montezemolo, Jean Todt, and Schumacher that could be a whole new video entirely on its own. Tied into this whole story was the fact that Ferrari was seriously considering Rossi for a seat during that period. As a matter of fact, de Montezemolo later revealed that Ferrari had approached the FIA to see if they could change the rules in order to be able to run a third car. That's right, we could have seen a three-car Ferrari squad potentially of Michael Schumacher, Valentino Rossi, and Felipe Massa. Sadly, this chapter of F1 history never materialized, as in mid-2006, Rossi announced that he had re-signed with Yamaha, and Ferrari had moved on to Kimi Räikkönen, who would then go on to claim his only world championship in F1 that next year. When we look back at it now, had Rossi made the jump to Formula 1 for the 2007 season, it could have been one for the ages. Imagine an F1 season in which Lewis Hamilton and Valentino Rossi are both F1 rookies battling in a close championship. In a season in which Ferrari won 9 out of 17 races and claimed the Drivers' World Championship, it would have been scintillating to see Rossi in red. In that time at Formula 1 as well, there was a lot more opportunities for drivers to getting more testing mileage than they do today. Would he have had the same success on 4 wheels as he did with 2? We'll never really know that answer, but why did Rossi's F1 dream eventually fall apart? In the end, it was Rossi's ultra-competitiveness that saw him turn down a chance to be in Formula 1. Since the FIA wouldn't allow Ferrari to run a third car, the Scuderia wanted Rossi to drive for Sauber instead and be a test driver at first. Quote, "I had completed a number of tests for Ferrari, and we then sat down with the team management who had worked out a very comprehensive plan to prepare for a career in Formula 1, Rossi said. However, this plan said that I had to drive a less fast car to prepare, and I was supposed to be a test driver at first. That's why I decided to decline the offer." It was ambitious from Rossi to want to jump straight into a Ferrari right away, but that's exactly what made him so great. His drive to be the best in any type of motorsport is why he has become a legend in the sporting world, and in the end it was a very smart decision on his part. Rossi would go on to win 2 more MotoGP titles by the end of the decade, while his Italian compatriots began a downturn in form that has left them without a championship since 2008. Valentino continued his love for Formula 1, however, as he drove a Ferrari car back in 2010 and was slightly rumored to be a replacement for Felipe Massa in 2009, which never really became a reality. He also most recently swapped rides with Lewis Hamilton driving his W07 a couple years ago. It really is a shame that we never got to see Valentino Rossi drive in Formula 1. Whether he would have been successful or not, a motorbike racing superstar in the prime of his career making the jump to 4 wheels would have been historic to say the least. Fate had different plans, however, but luckily for motorsport fans, we still get to see the Doctor race in his element at the young age of 42. Rossi's failed transition to F1 means that John Surtees's record of being the only man to win a world championship on both 2 and 4 wheels will live on for quite some time. But maybe there's another motorsport legend currently who could achieve this incredible record. He's already got plenty of championships on 4 wheels, and I hear he's quite handy on 2 wheels as well. So what do you guys think? Could Valentino Rossi have made the switch to F1 and be successful? Leave your thoughts and comments on this story down below, as we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, share it, like it, and also subscribe to the Backmarkers F1 show.